Hello everyone, welcome back to the daily / weekly race guide. It's week 35 and this week the races are a little bit iffy. Race A is one I would avoid at all costs. Race B is one if you like conquering the green hill, and race C has no strategy, but I'll talk you through each one individually. Let's jump to race A and let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail. Welcome to Japan then, and the Tokyo Expressway. We're on the central inner loop for this one, and I actually couldn't remember which one this was until I jumped onto it, and then I was like, oh, I remember this. I actually had a good race with Key here about a year ago, and it's not really been used since, so yeah, it's an interesting race, but one I wouldn't recommend you do. But even so, here are the details for that race. It's 4 laps in length. We are having a grid start here, as per usual, and we are on the Sport Hard tyres. Now in terms of the car, we are using the Honda Integra Type R, so front wheel drive here, absolutely nuking the car in terms of getting the revs to the limit. Let's jump to the race now and I'll talk you through some tips, tricks, and show you why you probably shouldn't do this. So here we are at the start. Make sure you put traction control on 1, of course, because front wheel drive, wheel spin and all that good stuff. And you can see the guy on the left is staying behind, so you know what they're doing straight off the bat. Trying to avoid a DR reset by sitting at the back and just chilling. However, we're not going to do that. We're going to go for a bit of a race here. So heading towards turn 1. Obviously, it's going to get a little bit sketchy straight off the bat here. Everybody going into the barrier, and you know, you try and avoid people at this point. See, they just come back on track. There's only enough for 2 cars there in terms of width, so you've got to be careful as we head down into this right-hander. This person just brakes right in the middle of the corner, and I hit him, and unfortunately, that's an SR down. You're not allowed many of these in race A, so 1 down already. Anyway, we continue on. You see all the penalties up ahead. This is why I say avoid this race, because yes, it's penalties galore. As you head down this hill now, again, this is a lot of carnage down this hill because it's very hard to get right. We'll talk through the lap in a little bit. I did this race and then I actually went back and did some practice on it just so I could get a decent guide out for you. We'll use race footage, but I'll point out where the markers are and what to do and all that good stuff. So heading up this hill now, long acceleration period. Again, you see lots of people up ahead, lots of cars, a very small track as we head towards this left-hander here, and we're going to chuck it in. Don't get it quite right there, but Snivers has everybody else in front as they accelerate through. We just go to the left, avoid the guy with the penalty. They take that there. You see another person up ahead who's also got the penalty, and through we go. Matthew there took a bit of a risk there, trying to go through them at the very end of the penalty. Very, very risky as we head towards this left-hander now. And again, they're just going to get this wrong up ahead a little bit here, a bit of carnage. And as we head down here, we're on the inside, but this guy goes, "You don't exist there, Tidge." Boom, walled. And then obviously the guy behind hits me. I can do anything there. But Matthew doesn't get a penalty. Out of all of those penalties that were given, how is that not a penalty? I got completely mauled. But anyway, we continue on. So I make a mistake now into turn 1 here. I brake a tiny bit too late, so I go to the left. That's the only place I can go. Fortunately, I avoid Matthew. Matthew then goes on my inside. I've got nowhere to go now, so I sort of just, yeah, hit the guy in front. But then I get a penalty for this. Yeah? So yeah, avoid this race at all costs. It's a pretty stupid race. Penalties are being just given for no good reason whatsoever, when other times they should be given. We continue on up the hill now. This is a tricky left-hander, by the way. It's a lot trickier than you realise, because you can see people just crashing galore there. Kafunda just goes into the barrier, but we have a little bit of a decent race here with Kafunda side by side there. Absolutely nice racing for a change on Tokyo. As we head up here now, I'm on a very tight line here, so I've got to be careful. Lift off, avoid the barrier, happy days. We continue with the racing. Anyway, we go towards the lap number 4 now, the final lap. We're going to talk you through a little bit of a guide now. So heading towards turn 1, what you're going to do is use that white dotted line on the right. That's a perfect brake marker there. If you brake just before that, stay in 4th gear for this. I have to drop to 3rd because I'm racing people. I have to slow down a little bit more, but 4th gear for your quali lap if you do decide to do this race. I say I wouldn't if I were you. Again, you see a couple people going to the barrier there. Jason gets a penalty. I can't really go anywhere. Have to sit behind Jason for now. So you head down here. This is a slight lift. That's all you need to do in 4th gear. Slight lift. Try and keep it tight. And you'll understeer out towards the exit. I had to slow down a bit more there because of Jason just going into the barrier as we head up the hill. Now when you come up to this left-hander that I said was tricky, you want to start turning and keep turning. Don't straighten up at any point in this corner, because if you straighten up, the weight transfer is going to be a bit weird. And as you head down here, you notice I'm braking. I'm only braking 100% when I can see the left-hander, the apex, because then I can straight line brake it and then turn. Because if you brake hard earlier on, you're just going to go into the barrier. So you can see that there. I just get it right. I could have gone a bit more to the left, but even so, this is a fast fast corner. You can flat this out. I couldn't at the time because I was behind this French driver here, who I just have enough room to go to the left there, and he does give me room there, so fair play to the Frenchman. As we continue now up the hill. So as you head up this hill on the right hand side, you'll notice a lamppost in a second. There it is. That's what I use. A quick dab of the brakes, chuck it in. Hope that you don't hit the barrier on the inside, but you're aiming for it and hoping the understeer gets you. And then you're just going to accelerate through the corner as fast as possible. Obviously, the quicker you do this corner, the better this huge long straight is. So it's a very tricky corner to get right, and one way, if you do get it right, you'll fly up the leaderboards in terms of your lap times. So we just have this long acceleration period. Flat out this all the way up towards the left hander, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Now you're going to see me start to slow down here. You can flat this a little bit up until this point. You notice how it goes straight and then sharp. So you're using that lamppost on the right hand side as your brake marker, and what you do is you brake and potentially drop a gear just to make sure you can get the turn in. There we go. So I drop a gear and you see how it tightens up, and then you go through there, and as you head towards this last corner now, using that lamppost again, the second one before the corner, you're basically going to drop brake, not drop a gear, stay in fourth gear, because if you drop to third, the front's going to get a bit weird, so just keep it in fourth. Through you go, accelerate as fast as you can through the corner and head towards the line. And that is race A in a nutshell. Not the best of races. One, as I say, I wouldn't recommend. You'll get a DR reset, I'm certain of, unless you start at the front and break away fast. But that's going to be it for race A. Let's jump to race B now, which is where we're going to head to Germany. Welcome to the Nurburgring, and yes, we are doing the green hell for this one. So in terms of a track guide, I'm not going to do that. What I will say is the cones are probably the best bet for this one. Very good markers, and because it's only one lap, as you go around, the cones should remain there. Now in terms of the race details, as I just said, it's one lap, so don't need to worry about going onto a second lap or anything like that. It's a rolling start, so nice and easy in terms of the start, and we're on racing hard tyres, so fairly grippy. Now we are in the Group 4 category, so of course the Audi TT is up there, but I know how you guys hate the Audi TT with its front wheel driveness. So just before I started the race, the Viper was at the top, so that's the car I use for this, and that's the car I'd recommend for now. There are probably a couple of the Group 4 cars you can use, so you know, try them out I guess. If you love the green hell, this is the one for you. Let's jump to the race and I'll show you some actually really good racing. So here we are then, about to start the race. So we're starting in P7. Believe it or not, most people didn't set a time in this race. I haven't set a time and I've started P7 out of 16. So first thing to do, make sure you set a time. So we're going to kick off. No need for traction control here. We have no tyre temperature issues, and off we go. So as I say, this is going to be the race highlights and just showing you a bit of fun, because I actually have a fantastic race with this Gwenny driver. Gwenny 345. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that completely wrong. But we actually have a brilliant race here at the start with this driver. It's unbelievable what we do. Anyway, as we head towards this left-hander here, as I said earlier, use the cones. They will help you massively. Obviously, if I did a track guide here, we'll be here for a fortnight and it'll be a 50-minute video. So just use the cones. Easiest thing to do here. It's one lap as well, so most of the cones won't get knocked to Narnia. I didn't find they got knocked to Narnia anyway. So we're through here. We're going to have a bit of a cheeky run on this Audi TT then, and we're actually going to go side by side at the floodplats. Yes, I did say that right, the floodplats. Well, I believe I said it right. Anyway, look at this. So you're thinking, okay, someone's going to back out of this. Not really. We go side by side through there and we survive. Now, yes, he gained the position, but I have to give him room. He was there. So what a side-by-side moment that is. I don't expect this from Daily Race B or any form of Nurburgring race, to be honest. So definite big shout out to the German driver there. We're going to have another run here, heading towards the left and then the right-hander, of course. Now, I actually thought he'd gone way too deep into here, because look, the cones are there, and he broke there, but the Audi TT very strong in its brakes. He did go a little bit deep, but you know, survived it, so fair play. And we're going to be right up his trumpet now as we head down towards the foxhole. Foxhole, as I always say when I mention it, obviously that's where I featured in the E3 video for GT Sport. Go watch that if you've never seen that before. Anyway, heading up now to the foxhole. And coming up to here, I did realise at that point he did brake a little bit too late, so I just broke normally. Through I went into P number 5, so now we've got another German up ahead. We'll see if we can get into P4 very quickly. See, they went a little bit deep, as did I as well, to be fair. But this Viper, very stable by the way, so I do highly recommend it. Brake balance wise, do +1. It will just help with a little bit of reduction in the understeer, and it'll give you a little bit of oversteer, but it won't cause stability issues. As we come through here, this is a very easy corner to get wrong. I've seen that happen many times, and unfortunately the German gets it wrong right there. So through we go to P number 4. Now up next is an Icelandic driver. We don't see Iceland very often in GT Sport. So a shout out here to Robbo. So heading up towards the carousel now, just jumped a bit later in the lap. Look at this oversteer into the carousel. Ooh, just got a little bit of oversteer. We caught it though, and through there we go. And we'll see what we can do versus the Super Group 4 car, a car you don't normally see. Let's be real here. So nice to see an unusual driver in terms of nationality, because we don't normally see Icelandic drivers driving an unusual car. It's kind of interesting. But as we head up here now, we're going to have a little bit of a run on the Iceland driver. In towards the right. I don't mean the delivery driver, of course, because we have a shop called Iceland in the UK. I don't mean that, but through on the inside, and he actually plays it really smart here. Because it's a long right there, it's well worthwhile backing out like he did, and fair play. Nice, lovely bit of racing again. Happy days. Anyway, we head towards the end now. Obviously, we're heading onto the long back straight. This is where your race is basically made, essentially. So if there's a big fight for P1, it's whoever's going to be leading as they go over the crest of the hill, I would say. But we're going to have a run on the TT. Now, the TT in 6th gear hits a wall. So, literally, if you are behind the TT, you will overtake it. And then it will struggle to then catch back up. So, through on the right we go. And you can see that slipstream taking huge effect here. We're right at the peak of our limit now as well. And you see the TT is not catching up to us very quickly. It will slowly start to catch up, because obviously we're going uphill here and they've got slipstream. A little bit of an advantage there, you can see that. And the Integra are up ahead, which is leading. Not really being pulled in. Pulled in a little bit, but nothing major. You can see the TT is getting very close here. But as we head down here, again, just use the cones. Look at this, watch this. Cones, bang on, nailed it. Beautifully, a little bit of overlay in there just to settle the car down. Through there we go, and then we're about to hit the last corner. Are we going to get the victory though? Because we've caught up Creative very quickly. Not quite. It's going to be 2, and I think it's 2.5 attempts there from Creative. So fair play to the Integra driver. A shout out again to the German driver, especially for the side-by-side at Flugplatz. But that's going to be it for the Nurburgring. We're going to head to Australia now, the other side of the world, for Bathurst. Welcome to Australia then, and this one's at night, which is why I'm showing you some race footage rather than the usual track footage, because the track footage is normally in the day. Now, in terms of the race details, we're racing 9 laps here at Bathurst. It's a rolling start, and we're on racing hard tyres. Now, in terms of the fuel and tyre wear, fuel usage ×2 and tyre wear is ×6. So with this race, it's a no stop. You're going to go flat out from start to finish in those 9 laps. Now, there's a variety of cars that are going on the leaderboard. Now, when I did this race, the Aston Martin was top, so that's the car I'm going to use here. But with Group 3, you're going for the faster cars here, faster in a straight line, so any one of those cars will be very good. Let's jump to the race now, and I'll talk you through some tips and tricks, and a little bit of an interesting race. So here we are then, and as always with Group 3, I'm going to show you the stars of the grid. So there's no music, I need to add my audio settings. But even so, you can see that a variety of cars, but mainly Aston Martins. And the Peugeot Rossi did actually just leave before this even starts, so I'm assuming they realised they've made the wrong decision and they're going to end up at the back. So make sure you do this at the start, of course. Burn your fuel. It's not a pit stop race, so burn that fuel to get it down. Now, one thing you've got to remember, we've got tyre wear in this one, so you've got to think about tyre temperatures. At the start, we've been standing there for a little while, so the tyres will be colder than normal, so I put traction control on 1, just a bit of a safety for myself, just to make sure I can get around the last corner and actually start the race. So this guy in front brakes really early, and apologies to the guy, but look, he broke early, easily made the corner. That's how early he broke. But we'll get to the Italian a little bit later on as well, because he does make a reappearance in this race. Anyway, heading down towards turn 1, all fairly straightforward here. And through we go. Obviously, it's not his fault I hit him. I just didn't expect him to brake so early, by the way, before anyone kicks off about that. But even so, we're heading up towards the mountain now, or the start of the hill, the mountain, whatever you want to call it. This corner, obviously, quite a dangerous corner, especially if you go on the curb. If you go a bit too deep, you'll end up sliding wide. You see, I go a little bit deep. The Nissan went a little bit deep. Somebody up ahead really plebbed that one up there. Was that Ork? Not quite sure there, but they go side by side into here, and I actually started laughing here because I was getting a bit confused with what they were doing. He went into the barrier anyway, so I'm going to try and go around the outside now. A little bit of a tap, nothing, on purpose there. He was just accelerating out from the barrier as we continue heading up the hill, should I say. Now my SR has been fluctuating, so this isn't top split because my SR is fluctuating at the moment. Every time I do race A, it goes down as the Nissan GTR goes into the barrier, and I do this move, which I've never really done before. Braking quite hard there for the left just because I was on such a tight line avoiding the GTR. But yeah, my SR's been going up and down, so I couldn't really get into top split. Hopefully I will do again eventually, because obviously it's just to do with SR, as the Aston Martin there makes a mistake there of Nicholas. Now, this driver, I was a bit confused a little bit, to be honest. So obviously coming out of here, I'm going to have a good run going down the straight here, heading towards the chase, right? So generally speaking, you've got to pick one side or the other, because your car's just not big enough to hold it in the middle. So it goes to the right there, goes to the right again, so I go to the left, and then he goes left, turns left on me, turns left again. So I'm just like, I'm here, and then he turns left again in a second. There you go, look, it keeps nudging me left. Very confused by that, so I was like, okay, I'm having this anyway now at this point. So braking, just release the brake a little bit, make sure I get to the corner, and we just leave enough space there, happy days. If you're wondering why it's flashing, it's pad players. You will see that from a lot of people. Basically they're pressing the analog stick so hard, they're flashing the lights. So it's not necessarily at you if you are racing pad players. Just keep that in mind, you know, the flashing is generally them just turning. I watched the replay, looked for the inputs to check if he was turning left, and he was. Then got to the corner, and I noticed on every corner he was flashing his lights. So that just gives you a little bit of a hint there as to what's going on. So coming up in a second, we've got the finish driver in front with Spaniard just in front of them. This is avoiding action to the extreme, let's put it that way. So obviously we're heading down the straight here, and I was a little unsure what to expect, and I expected the wrong thing, I suppose. So coming into here, into the braking zone, I broke, but everyone broke really early, so I carried on my straight line braking there, which clipped the grass, which made me spin, and then I carry on still in 8th place, fortunately. But that's how you do avoiding action. I had nowhere to go there, so straight line the braking, it'll stop you as fast as possible. Anyway, a lap later we catch up to the finish driver, so time to try and get past again. Coming down here, this is a very scary corner, the dipper. He just hits the barrier and then he brakes again, and I get an SR down for that. Really annoying. I actually got an SR, a red S in this. I think I might have even gone to SRA, and it's annoying because like I couldn't do anything there. I'm literally behind the person, he just brakes. But yeah, even so, it happens. So heading down here, we're actually going to have a little bit of a decent fight here with Huawei. Sorry if I got that, said that wrong, but it goes to the left, so I go to the right. I'm thinking, okay. Just need to make sure I don't run out wide here and run him off the circuit as we head towards this little kink here. But I don't do that. I'm coming in towards the left-hander now. I can just see the finish driver there, so I give him room. Through we go. Look at this. Lovely bit of racing, side-by-side action, but up into P7 we go there. So good bit of racing. Right, what we're going to do now is a bit of a track guide. So, turn 1, look for that person there, the right next to the barrier. That is my brake mark. I'm braking just before that, of course, because I've got fuel, but in time trial, that's where I'm roughly braking. And the critical thing here is brake and stay in 3rd gear. I find if you go to 2nd, you get too much wheel spin, but 3rd, it sort of settles itself. You see a little wiggle, but it settles itself there. You can use that tree on the exit, by the way, the one closest to the track is a bit of a time reference point. So if it's clicked on 8 seconds, you're on a pretty good lap. Obviously, if it's 18.9, 18.8 down here, it seems pretty good to me. I've not tested it fully versus the top time. So heading down here, that piece of tarmac there, that's the perfect place. You can judge your braking accordingly then. Do you do it at the start? Do you do it at the end of it? That's where I always use, or what I always use here at Bathurst. It's a good marker at the end of the day. And you want to turn in early here. You want to get as close to the curb as possible, because if you run even a slight bit wide, you're going to go off and into the barrier. And be careful of that curb on the exit as well. That's where people spin if you're just on top of that curb. Now coming into here, you'll notice I'm just trail braking. Now I could go in aggressive and slam on. It's not the best way to do this corner because you're more than likely going to end up in the barrier on the right hand side. So I generally trail brake this entire corner. I'll brake a little bit harder here because obviously I can straighten up a little bit, and then I keep it tight. The tighter you are, the better the exit you can get. So now we're going to obviously head up the hill here. So I use the tree on the right there as a bit of a turning point. Up the hill, and not too shabby at all. So obviously I'm just bouncing the throttle at this point, a little bit of a lift, try and clip the curb. Trying to avoid the barrier here, so I'm going to just pause it here, and notice that curb, I'm just going to lift for this, okay? If you're going flat out, your front of your car is lifted higher in the air, so if you do that, you're going to go off into Narnia. Lift, let the car go over the crest of the hill, bounce the car, you notice how I'm bouncing it there, and then I get around the corner absolutely fine. Avoid doing that on the exit, because that can get a bit scary. As we hit the going down the hill now, use that sign as your reference. So obviously you can see I'm braking a little bit now, as we start to head downhill. Now as you head downhill, your car's going to get very oversteery depending on what car you're in. So what I'm going to show you there is, if you notice, I'm on the brake and the accelerator at the same time. That's called overlaying. So if you do that, it's going to force understeer and stop oversteer. Do that, it will help you a lot going down the hill here at Bathurst. You notice I'm doing it all the time there, just on it, and then I'm balancing the throttle, brake. Be careful of that dipper there, it's a bit sketchy. You will get a bit of oversteer. And as we're coming into this right-hander, you notice how I'm slowing down already. I'm not even at the corner yet. So I'm just lifting. I'll dab the brakes occasionally as well. I'm just trying to keep it tight so I get a good line for the left-hander. And then as we come down here, again, notice the overlaying. I can just show a bit there, just a tiny bit on the throttle, full on the brakes. That's forcing the car to understeer and oversteer. Means I get better braking as we head now in towards the left-hander here. So I dropped to second gear. I think you can do it in third, to be honest, because you're instantly on the revs and then instantly up into third. So I personally would probably keep it in third. But obviously I don't practice too much for these races. I'm just going on the fly, you know, and do what I would normally do in this race. I'm going to show you a little trick shortly, so do keep an eye out for that. So you want to stay to the end of the video to see that. You see we're purple here, so this is going to be our fastest lap, as it always is. So as you head down here, what you're looking for there is the V insignificant, or however you say that. That V is a very good marker for a lot of cars. It's just after the 150 meter board. Obviously you can't wipe out that V. I use that as a marker here. Stay in third gear. Turn a little bit later than expected there, and you should get a better line out the corner. As we continue on now towards the last corner. And I'll tell you a little trick, because you're going to say in a minute, Tidge, I can't see that marker. That's the tree I use. I always use this tree at Bathurst. I will show you a little trick at the end to make it so it is visible in this race, because we are playing a video game after all. You can make and do things that will help you in terms of vision that you can't do in real life. But through we go, and we're actually about to kick off with a battle here. So let's see what happens here. Heading towards turn number 1. P5 goes to the position on P4. A little bit of contact. I don't think P4 maybe didn't give enough room. I don't know. I couldn't see it a bit far back. But I'm going to say happy days. 2 positions, 1 straight. Look at that. Nice and easy. So through we go into P number 4. Now I did get a little bit worried, because I do stream these, as I always say. I did get a bit worried and thought, oh, am I going to get punted here or not? I'm not too sure, because I don't know these drivers. I don't really race them very often. So I broke a little bit later than normal, but it actually turned out okay. You can see my tyre wear as well, bottom left. So you can see why it's a no-stop race. It's just flat out. Anyway, lap number 8. Look, the Italian's back. So I think I scared the Italian here, because I go straight through him and watch the arrow just disappear off the radar very quickly. I'm assuming he got very, very scared, because I suddenly appeared in his vision as I went through him there. So we have lapped somebody now in this race, and we can see P2 in the distance. We're not going to get P1 obviously, unless we knock 6 seconds a lap off, but that doesn't happen, I'll tell you that now. But we are catching the German here, and we've got Tidgney at the very end, potentially from South Africa. Did say hello in chat, so hello to you, Tidgney. As we head up the hill again here, we are catching very quickly. It's a very hard track to overtake, so do expect some DR resets if you are racing here, hitting the barrier, cars bouncing back, you hitting them. I'd say I got a red SR here, and I've hardly done anything wrong. I'll show you all the action points, and you can see I've hardly done anything, and I'm losing SR. So you know, it is, you got to be careful, let's put it that way. So going through the dipper again, you notice how the car got a bit unstable there. The pony just clips that curb, so we go to the left there, get that position. Happy days. Through we go into P3. We're on a podium now. We've got 1 lap, 2.8 seconds to catch for Tidgney. So do we do it? Well, let's advance to the final lap in the exact same place, and here we go, Tidgney. So obviously this is the place you're going to make the most moves here, because it's slipstream into a heavy braking zone. It's the same as real life. Tidgney goes to the left, as did the Finnish driver in previous. So we've got a much better run on the Tidgney this time. So in, use the V as your brake marker, third gear, get it turned in, lovely little apex, and through there we go. Happy days. So 9 seconds off the leader. I think that might drop a bit further here. It's 8.9 now. Tree on the right is your braking marker for this last corner, and through we go, and heading towards the line. And oh, it's actually going to stay at around 8.9 there. So not too shabby in the end. I had a fun race, to be fair, but yeah, there are some people getting DR resets, so just be careful. You see how the V12 Vantage is up there initially, but there are other cars creeping into that leaderboard. As I've been editing this video, I've been checking Twitter. The Volkswagen's now up there, the McLaren F1, so, you know, some cars you can check out. Now, here we go. Here's a little trick for you. Obviously, for some people, this may be very dark. You can see it's dark here. Very dark, the track, and a lot darker than what I was racing in, right? Because obviously we're doing a little bit of practice beforehand. So, here's a little trick you can do, and this will improve greatly your visibility. So go to detail settings, then go to video settings and change the exposure adjustment and whack that up to whatever you feel. So I put it on 1.5 there. Notice how the sky's lighter, everything seems clearer, that tree seems clearer. And just to prove a point here, so there's the tree now with the setting change that I've done, and there's the tree with previous settings. It's massive. I've done no editing there, that's just screenshot at the time on the video. So there's a little trick for you. So now you'll be able to see the tree with that setting change. But that's going to be it for me now, folks. That's it for this weekly race guide. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in another video or live stream very soon.